Welcome to the launch of our first tech webinar from Teacher Tech Cafe here at Region 15 ESC. I am so excited to get this group of innovative educators working together. Don't worry if you don't catch the live feed. The webinars will be recorded and housed on the Region 15 website and on the Teacher Tech Cafe blog. So let's get started. You're going to be able to find everything you need for the webinar today at this landing page, goo.gl/1Q, capital T, capital Y, capital J, 1. And I'll let you head over to our landing page and I'll tell you a little bit about what I am thinking here. I am really dreaming big for our webinars. I think that to begin with, we'll start out with me sharing some things that I've chosen that you've asked for in the past. But my plan is to have you guide our Tech PD and for you to share in the webinar building. And for those of you who have the desire or the drive to do so, I'd like to share some of the hosting time with you so that you can share your ideas and we can build a real team here. So I hope everyone has gotten to this link. That will take you to our webinar page here for Google Drawings. The video will be hosted here after we've finished. And so want to double check here, make sure we are in fact recording, and yes, we are. So if you look here, you have an agenda for the day. We do have a chat document and we have a sample drawings ideas folder that we can add more items to. So let's start. I'm going to jump down to this chat document for just a minute and explain that. I'm not going to be able to see that document. If you click on that, it will take you to a document you actually have the right to edit. So if you have some questions, you want to share an idea that doesn't really fit into the agenda, share it here. All you have to do is click down below and start typing. So we can use this as a group chat page. Now know that I can't see that during the webinar unless I have it open. So if you ask a question here, I'm not going to know about it. Just keep that in mind. I will answer them afterward though. So let me jump back to the web page again. You see here that we have an agenda, and this is kind of how I'm going to track myself, but it also allows you to have some input. So on the agenda, you'll see it here, you have the ability to comment and suggest on this agenda. So you can't delete what's there, but you can make suggestions by clicking and typing on the document. You can also use the comment feature to add comments. If I select some text, add a comment right over here. I can ask questions. I can type into the agenda as well as you. You can do that as also. And as we work down through the agenda, you'll see some places where you are able to add some information to it. So first of all, welcome to Teacher Tech Cafe. If you are new here, I am Sherry Hall, the Technology Integration Consultant here at Region 15. And I just have to tell you, I love our districts. I love the innovation and the excitement that I see in our teachers, and I thank you for being here. I am at TTech Cafe on Twitter. I hope that you join me there, and I hope that you're sharing your tech ideas on Twitter as well. So if we move on down the agenda, you'll see that I have links here of different things that might be helpful to you. It's a link to the Teacher Tech Cafe blog, also to the YouTube channel. So I have tutorials there. You can check those out and find different tutorials on technology. I also have a form for you to sign up for my newsletter and for making blog and webinar suggestions. There's a place there where you can send ideas to me. The Region 15 workshop catalog is here for our face-to-face trainings, and also for some online trainings that will be coming. If we move on down the agenda, I have linked the summer workshop flyer here for my technology offerings. You can see all of the things that I'm offering this summer so far. Now, I may add a few here and there, but this is probably the vast majority of what will be offered. Wanted you to know because those will be, they're already on the web, so people are already signing up for those. And if you see here on under upcoming workshops, I want to talk to you a little bit about some online 3-week courses that I would call them Pace It, I think, because I want to pace our progress over several weeks and try things out in the classroom. So I'm looking for some beta testers for that. We have a new online, it's called Canvas. It's like Blackboard if you've taken college classes in Blackboard. And I can offer classes there. And my thought is, if we took 3 weeks, 2 hours a week, you would probably need about 30 to 45 minutes online, and the rest of the time would come from you trying something out in the classroom or building something for next year's class. So if you're interested in that, let me know, because I am looking for some people to try that out. So how are these webinars going to work? Well, this is the first run, and I see somebody has joined us. And so, hi, Allison, glad you're here. We are going to be working through, let me jump out of here. And this is my first shot at doing a webinar, so y'all bear with me. These webinars, as we work through them, they're going to be live and recorded. So if you miss the live session, you will be able to come to the recorded session and still get credit. Those are all going to be available on the Teacher Tech Cafe blog through May 31st, and then I'll move them over to the brand new Region 15 website starting June 1st. If you're a Region 15 member and you want to receive PD credit for these trainings, you will need to complete the Google form at the bottom of this agenda. And so I'm going to jump back over here just a minute. If you are just joining us, if you will go to this link, you'll be able to get to this agenda and all of the material that you need today. I do have the chat hidden, but I will open that up from time to time. So if you've got a question, feel free to use the chat feature, and I will check those out pretty regularly. All right, back to the agenda. If we move on down, why did I decide to do webinars? And so since this is our very first one, I thought I would throw this out there to you. I think it's really an opportunity for us to build our own personal learning network here at Region 15 throughout all of our districts, because we have some really innovative educators out there, but we're all working in little silos, and I want us to be able to come together but not have to do it face to face every time, because we've got to face it, time is a real issue. And so I think we could build an awesome team virtually and share all kinds of ideas through these webinars and through some shared environments. So that's why I've decided to give this a try. Today's topic is Google Drawings. We're going to talk about just the basics of drawings, how to manipulate them very quickly, and then we're going to look at some samples, and we're going to make our way to hyper drawings, because I think that's where our focus really needs to go to, and I'll explain that in just a little while. Before I move off of the agenda, I wanted to show you here where it says your turn. I have some ideas you've already suggested from our survey, but since you have suggesting rights and commenting rights on this agenda, you can click and add to our ideas. If you can think of something else we need to talk about in future webinars, things that you want to share or things you want me to share, then list them here. And finally, down at the bottom, you'll see the form for your quiz to get your credit. Don't worry, it's not a tough quiz. It is asking for your input, your reflection, and a Google drawing that you've created. So let's get started with drawings themselves. I'm going to go over here into my Google Drive, and we're going to start out with some samples. So Google Drawings is a whole lot like Google Slides. You have the ability to add things to the drawing. You have the ability to manipulate the canvas. So let's start out, and you have access to this folder. Back here on our landing page, you can see the folder here. So I wanted you to have everything that I had available today. So let's just start with a new drawing and talk about some basic features. So I will add it in here. Go to my new tab and do a new Google drawing and create. So here we have a blank canvas, and I'm going to go ahead and give this one just a title here. A couple of things that I wanted to show you that people may not be familiar with. You have the general canvas here when it opens, but you can go up to File and down to Page Setup. So that's under File, Page Setup. And you can change this to any size you want. You see you've got your standard and your widescreens, but if you click Custom, I can create an 11 by 8.5 if it's something that I want to print out. I can go huge if I want to. If I want to create a poster of some sort, I can go into that page setup and I can change this to anything I'd like. So know that you're not bound by a certain size. You can also, let me make this a little smaller so I don't have a 30-inch poster here. I'll just go back to standard. You also have the ability to grab and drag. And so that's what these little lines here in the corners or in the bottom right corner allows you to drag and manipulate your canvas very easily. So that's a difference between this and slides, where slides you have to go into File each time to resize. This one will allow you to put your objects in and then resize your canvas to fit, which I think is pretty cool. So let's see what else I wanted to talk about as far as basics. You can add all of your insert your image, your text box, your shapes, charts, diagrams, all of the things that you would expect to be able to insert. However, there's something missing here. If you look, you don't have the ability to add video. We do have a workaround though. So when I show you the hyper drawings here a little later, we'll talk about how to get that video embedded into these drawings. One other thing that you might not know how to do right off the bat is to change your background color. If you right click right here on the background, you can go in and select different colors to set that background. All right, let's look at some examples. I'm going to start with some basic graphic organizers. Now we want to be careful here. I'm going to shrink my chat window down so I can see these. We want to be careful here because it is okay to substitute. It's all right to use something you would have done on paper and do it on a digital format. But we want to be careful and not stay at that substitution level. So let me show you some graphic organizers that, if we're not careful, could really just be a substitute for pen and paper. And like I said, that's okay. We just don't want to stay there all the time. this category sorter. I can't talk. This is from Eric Kurtz. If you have not gone to Control Alt Archive, it's down here, little tiny at the bottom. I'm sorry, Control Alt Achieve. He's got a great website and shares tons of Google material. So anything that I have gotten from someone else that has given us the rights to get to share, I have given them credit. So just know that that's an awesome resource to find things. So this was adapted from one of his. It says to determine your categories and label, categorize the items in the correct boxes. Use the space to explain a different way you could have categorized the items. So this does get our kids thinking here, and they simply can drag and drop and decide how they would categorize these. And then they can use and create a text box down here. So this is just simple shapes. You can see here, and I'll move this. These are all arranged. They are right now grouped together. We can ungroup them, and I will put these back. So if you want to use a copy, it'll be there. But you can see these are just basic shapes that were added into this document. Nothing fancy, but it allows kids to manipulate. Now you would not have to use shapes. You could put anything down here and use to categorize. So let me put this back. And let's talk about how we would assign this to our students. If you use Google Classroom, it's really easy to, and let me grab the chat box here. Okay, we're still good there. If you are in Google Classroom, and let me jump over to Google Classroom. And I want to assign that, I can go into my class. And I've got to learn how to maneuver this chat window that keeps popping up. All right, so if I want to create an assignment, I'm going to do category sort. I go into my drive and I find my document and add that. Now, if I want each of the students to be able to manipulate their own copy, I need to make a copy for each student. If I add students can edit file, then every student's going to be able to work on my single copy. And for this thing, I would want to make a copy for each student. And then I assign. That's all there is to it to get it out to them if you use Google Classroom. But what about people who don't use Classroom? What do we do there? So let me show you what you can do. If I go up here to the web address and I go all the way to the word edit, and I delete edit and anything after it, and I put the word copy in, this is what I get. And so if I give this URL to students, it would pop up and force them to make a copy into their Google Drive. And then you could have them submit a link back to you. So if you're not using Classroom, this is a way to get a copy out to your students. You could use the Google URL shortener until the end of May. And I heard today that that is going away. It breaks my heart. But the Google URL shortener, those shortened links will still work, but the extension itself is going away. So we'll have to find something else like bit.ly or one of the other URL shorteners to use. But that's how you force it to make a copy. All right, let's look at what else we have. I want to check the chat there. We're good. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so I want to go into a character map here. You can see that this would really be kind of a worksheet if you're not careful. but you could change it around and have kids add more to it than just fill in text boxes. This is from Matt Miller, if you're familiar with Ditch That Textbook. He has some great things. He shares a lot of great stuff. So these again come from just inserting shapes up here. We've got all kinds of call outs. We've got different shapes that we can add. So you can easily create these for your students. My challenge would be to have your students creating them rather than you creating all of the documents. So I'm going to flip through a few more of these that are organizers, kind of things that you manipulate, and then we're going to talk about building some things. Here's a butterfly life cycle. You could do any kind of cycles. You could do math problems. You could do all kinds of things where the kids have to manipulate something. So this one has them drag it into the correct order, and then they could use their labels. We have, let's move, let me see which other one I wanted to show. You can do all sorts of word webs. And like I said, you have access to all of these, so I'm not going to open all of them. But you could create word webs for your students or have them create the webs. I think if you're having them brainstorm, it's a great way. I can reach up here and create a shape. And then I can use my connectors here. Reach from one and connect right to another box. And the kids learn that very quickly, and they can create all kinds of webs for every class. So let's talk about ways to use it in vocabulary. I really like the idea of kids creating vocabulary cards or information cards. If you can let them create a meme of some sort and let them kind of put some humor in things. We see here the perpendicular, but it actually shows the definition there with the lines. I think that's a cool thing. And you could print these out. You could put them in the classroom. You could use a virtual wall and put those up with your classroom vocabulary. And all that is a picture inserted with the line tool and a text box. Also, motivational posters work well for vocabulary. You could have your main word and then a definition, quotes, an entire process, depending on what pictures you choose here. And I do want to say, I know that you've probably heard this before, but when you insert pictures inside of any of your Google tools, if you search the web and you're using Google search over here, these are all copyright friendly, and that's good for our kids to know, and it's good practice for us, because a lot of times when they search, they just pick any and everything from the web and use it thinking that it's okay. So these are all copyright friendly images that you can use here when you're searching inside of the Google tools. So just another way to use for vocabulary. Also have a trading card. And if you go into the file setting on this one, you'll see it's actually the size of a trading card. It's a 3.5 by 5. I think that's the size of it, or let me see. The page setup, yes, 3.5 by 5. Small trading card. These could be printed out. You could gather these and you could do elements. You could do people. There are all kinds of ways you could use these for trading cards. Characters in books. If you wanted to do a character analysis, you could use these for that. All right, let's talk about creating now. So like I said, substitution is good. We can use and kind of augmenting, we can have them add some different things to these drawings that we might not have done on pencil with pencil and paper. But I want you to think about where your kids live, and that's on social media. Now, depending on your class, you may or may not let them use social media in the classroom. If I were in a high school class, I would send home homework where they used Snapchat to do assignments for me. And then screen capture and bring that back to class. But we know that that's not feasible in all of our classrooms. So let me show you. I do have a literary Facebook there, but we know our kids no longer live on Facebook. That's for us old people. So just know that we are no longer cool. Here is a book snap, and I don't know if you're familiar with the term, and I will put a link in on our page to the lady that came up with book snaps. I wish I could remember her name right now, but I can't. The idea was to use Snapchat and take pictures of books the kids are reading and comment on it and to analyze the text. So if we're not using Snapchat in the classroom, we could use Google Drawings in place of that. So let's talk about how to do that. I'm going to actually create a new drawing. And this has been really popular with kids that we've tried this with, especially those that aren't allowed to use Snapchat at school. So let me put in book snap. And I'm going to insert an image, and I think that I have one in our folder here. So I'll put my book page in. The kids can take a picture with their phone, with their iPad, Chromebook. They can hold the book up in front of the camera on the computer or the Chromebook. They get pretty good at that. But if they're using their phones or devices in the classroom, they can upload that to their drive and get right to a picture of the page. And then if you let them use their Bitmojis, we can certainly add those. So I'll just add the one that I had already on that page. If you don't let them use their Bitmojis, and that's fine. I understand because some of them are not appropriate. I guess it depends on your grade level, and I'll leave that up to you. You can have them add other emojis, other pictures, whatever you choose. They can annotate on the text with the line tool. If you choose the scribble tool down at the bottom, you can circle things. They can change that color. They can make that a little bit thicker. They can underline things. They can point arrows. So you can really have them work on the text without having to feel like they're sitting just writing on a piece of paper about their book. I know it's really the same thing, but they like it. And then if you add that text box across the center, and if you're familiar with Snapchat, you've got that text that pops up across the center. But we need to change the background so it has more of the effect of Snapchat. So I'm going up here to fill color, and I'll just put in black. And I am also, I guess I should have changed my text to white first. That would have helped. But then I'm going to my fill color and go to custom. And I'm going to drag this down just a little bit so that it gives it some transparency. And then it looks a whole lot more like a book snap. Make that a little bit bigger if I choose. And so you could have any subject area, you could have kids doing book snaps. And like I said, if I had a high school classroom, I'd be sending them home with the book and letting them book snap about the book using their Snapchat. But this is a safe way to do this in the classroom. So I'm looking at the time. I want to stop by 4:15 so that you have time to reflect and try things out. And the really big thing that I want to show you today is a hyper drawing. Now the term came out, hyperdocs was the original term. And if you are familiar with them, they have a whole lot going on a single document. They have now moved to hyper slides and hyper drawings. There's a website for hyperdocs. And what it is you're getting kids creating, they are moving through different levels of blooms. They're really showing their learning all within a single document. And so I have an example here of Valentine math. And if you look, you'll see that it's numbered, and these are just text boxes that you can see. I can move that here. Just got little pictures, text boxes there. It's not hard to build, but they are actually outside of our canvas. So you can put the instructions on the edges, and then the students can work inside. And so you see here, the very first one is to watch a video. And I told you I'd show you how to get a video into Google Drawing. And so I'm going to jump back into my drive and walk you through how to get that video. It's kind of it is a workaround. But what I do is I open up a Google slide, just get a blank slide and insert video. And so I can get from either from my drive or from YouTube. If I can spell T-Tech Cafe. And so I'll just grab one of my tutorial videos here. And that's all I have to do. Now I right click and copy that, and I go over to a drawing and I paste it in. And it works perfectly. It will stay in the drawing, it plays. And so that's how you can work around and get video into a Google Drawing. And you can show the kids that once and they'll be able to do it, because if they can add video, they will be super happy. So in this particular example, they watched this video first, and this is a math nerd video. It talks about data collection. I mean, you could use this in any subject area. This just happens to be my sample. And then step 2, they have to engage with the material, and it says use Vocaroo to share what you've learned. Or if you already know the information, summarize the information. So if they say I didn't learn anything, then they get to summarize. So if you're familiar with Vocaroo, if you click on that link, it's just a recording. It records your voice and it gives you a link that you can then post back on your drawing. So the kids would click record, they would explain what they've learned, and then they come right back here and it tells them post your link here. So they would post the link and they move on. It says to create a Valentine math problem in Google Drawings using data collection and a math concept we've learned. Make sure to add a title. So right here is where they would work and create their math problem using whatever topic you have given them. They move on up the level here. They now have to explain it. They're going to use some sort of screen capture tool. Screencastify is awesome. It's free for 10-minute videos. So they would create their problem here, and then they would go right up to Screencastify and click on that and immediately record themselves explaining this problem down here. They post the link to their screencast right here, and then they assess themselves. They click on this Google form, and it asks them, explain the math concept you used to create your problem, create your own nerdy Valentine fact, and then it says if it's an extension, if they have time, to make a short Valentine video for math nerds using your fact, and then insert the link. So you know that you've got those kids that can reach this level. And so you can see that I have this required, but you could make this an optional question. And that way you're reaching all those kids. The ones that need to stick with the basics, start here, move through here, and then you've got it moving all the way up to those kids who can run with it. The neat thing about it is when they turn it in, if you're using Classroom or you have some way for them to share the link to this page here, you now have a link to their summary they gave, you have their problem they created, you have the screencast of them explaining the problem, and then inside your form you have their data all in a spreadsheet. So from one page here you get all of this information about your student. Let me show you some simpler hyperdocs or some ways that you can create them that don't have to be that extensive. Go in here and we have a book. Find it. Digital book talk. Much simpler. This one just says it's a digital book talk. They're going to create a pitch for their favorite book, include photos, videos, excerpts, personal thoughts. They can really do anything here to sell their book to their classmates. When they're done, they add the link. Either you could have them add it here or to your spreadsheet where you have all the links in one place. And then you have digital book talks that you could share. You could create QR codes. I've seen these in libraries where they create a QR code to the book talk and put it on the backs of the books in the library so that when the kids scan it with their phones, they would actually be able to see what was here. So I'm going to do one more drawing very quickly, just so you can see. If I go here and add my text boxes, I can fill those with some color. I can write in those. If I want to put video in there, there's my video. I can shrink that down and put that in the drawing. Now when they play the video, I know that's going to be loud, they can click on that and make it larger, and so it doesn't have to be the tiny video. It does allow them to make it bigger, but you can put it small out here on the outside for them to be able to watch that. If you need to add any kinds of images all along the outside, you can, and put those anywhere around the outside. And I'm going to jump over here to a bingo card. This is Chromebook skills, and so this was designed for kids to move. You can see along the outside here. Once they've done something, they can move their pieces in and cover those up. And each time they get in the drawing, it will still be there. Those pieces will be wherever they have put them. So we are getting close to the end of our webinar today. I know I have talked fast and furious and stumbled through a lot of this with our first webinar, but I thank y'all so much for joining me today. Before we leave, I do want to show you a few fun things that, and I think all of this is fun, but some things that our kids might find fun in Google Drawings. One of those is a chessboard. Two people could share a chessboard, and I don't know, but in my classroom, they had to learn how to play chess. And when I taught elementary kids, when you couldn't go outside, chess was a good alternative because it made them think, and it's quiet. So you can have kids play chess, a virtual board, and when time is up, they can save their board. I mean, it stays there until next time, and they can play each other and move these pieces. Now, when they get done with the game, they can go back to their all changes saved in Drive and revert back to its original and restore that. And they're back to the original game. So the board can reset each time. So I thought that was a fun one. Let me see, I know I had, oh, the Tangerams. That one is pretty neat as well. So these are from Eric Kurtz. Also, he has a ton of them on his website. If you go to this link, he has all kinds of puzzles. And the kids actually move these pieces in and use the handles to rotate. They can also use, if you go up to a range, you have the option to flip horizontally and vertically or rotate 90 degrees. They can use those options and try to get their Tangram to build the horse. And then if it were me, I would have them build their own. I'd give them this as a template and then ask them to create their own puzzles and see if they can solve each other's. So just a little bit of fun. And finally, I saw this at TCEA and never realized what you could actually draw in Google Drawings. This is all done with little bits and pieces. Let me just take myself here and ungroup. And you can see these are all, there's my arm coming off. These are all shapes that I used just from the shapes right up here in little tiny pieces, as well as the scribble tool. And so you've got somebody who's really into graphic design, they can create their own clip art right here in Google Drawings. So I could see academic uses for that, but I will tell you that it's very time consuming. I got wrapped up in creating myself. So that would be one that I might show kids and then let them build on their own time when they are at home. So I hope that you have enjoyed this webinar, and I hope to hear from all of you again at the next one. Remember, we have the chat document that you can ask questions, you can add information to. And let me go here to the blog. Our first webinar, to get back to it in case you lose the link, right here on Teacher Tech Cafe, you'll see we'll have a webinar link. And right now there's only one webinar, so that will take you to this page. Our chat document will be there, and the recorded video will be on this page as well. And as we build more, you will find a page of webinar videos here. Don't forget to get credit from Region 15. Be sure and do that form, and that's on the bottom of the agenda. Go all the way down, you will find a link to the Google Drawings quiz, and it will take you for your name and email so that I can give you credit from Region 15, and then some questions about Google Drawings in your classroom, ideas you have, and if you would like me to share this with our other T-Tech Cafe followers or not. You certainly don't have to, but if you would like to share your ideas, please check yes, and I will share those. And we are right on time. That leaves you, you'll get an hour credit if you fill out the form. For about a 45-minute webinar, 15 minutes to fill out the form, and you will get an hour credit, and I hope some new ideas to take back to your classroom. My goodness, this has been a fast 45 minutes. I do want to thank you so much for joining me. If you need to get a hold of me, all of my contact information is on the blog as well, and it's in the agenda. So feel free to get a hold of me, give me a call. If you need me to do a quick screencast, if you want me to zoom into your classroom for something, I would be more than happy to. So thank you so much for your time, and God bless you for the lives you touch every day.